This is Friday, July 25th, 2025. Brennan Ames interviewing Roger Boyd. Roger, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, Brennan. Really good to see you again.
Thank you. Doing an interview. Of course, you're the sole founding member of Head East.
I am
In
now
50
last
years.
man
Yeah,
standing.
yeah. What's your main takeaway from your time in the band? What's the biggest thing you can say about your time in the band?
Well, I think the biggest thing probably is what a family we are, how everybody works together all the time, really takes care of each other. Um, we have a lot of outside folks too that are very, very close to the band, which people can read in our book, which is coming out in October. And the other thing is that I've been really proud of is most of us, well, except for the guys now, they're kind of in the Kansas City area, but everybody, as a general rules, come from smaller towns. And to be able to travel all over North America and do everything we've done and see all the places that we've seen and plan all the different venues has just been amazing. I mean, that's the thrill of a lifetime.
Just released a new album,
Yes, we
Full
did. It's called
Circle.
Full Circle.
Yeah.
And the reason for the title, which is the title I wanted, is that this band right now, this present lineup with the Kansas City guys that have now been with me, I think 18 years, um, they're exactly like, uh, in many respects, definitely talent wise and vocal sound wise, the original band was. And so it's taken me a lot of years to try and get back to that original sound that I really like so much and that we created on Vlad's Pancake, but I've finally done it. So then the other thing is Cleopatra, of course, wanted us to redo some of the songs from 1970, from Flat
Hmm.
and bring them into 2025 with the recording technology we have today. So, the album's kind of a combination of what we originally did and what kicked us into the national spotlight, then with some added new stuff as well.
When did the band form? This is going back to 1969. How'd you guys all get together?
Well, Steve and I had won an essay contest for the Rural Electric Association, and we went to Washington, D.C. together for over a week. And he was from a little bitty town, 30, 40 miles away from where I grew up. And we got in a car and swapped cards. We had little sock hop bands at the time and traveled up to Illinois to the state capitol there, and they did some politicking and went out to DC. And I brought my guitar along, and we were along the Potomac River. We were at the Marriott Twin Bridges, and we went down to the Potomac River underneath some trees, and a couple of gals were with us. And I gave the guitar to Steve. He played a couple songs. He played Anna by the Beatles. And I
Wow.
was going, man, this guy is really, really magical. And just there was always an air about him, an aura about him, and he loved the music business. Steve was really into not always the reality of music business, but
Yeah.
just the good sides of the music business. So when we got back to town, I took my brother from our little sock hop band, and he took one of his buddies, and we started a band, and we called it the Timations. And then in 1969, when we were the first time we were going to play a college bar, which was the Golden Gauntlet in Carbondale, Illinois, we decided to change the name because we'd added John Schlitt in the summer. And so Saturday night we played at the Teen Center as Timations and then set up Sunday. Thought we were getting paid. We were just auditioning. We were going to pack it in. Thought, we're already here. And a couple of people there, manager and one of the owners said, you're just gonna rock everybody. He said, you're just gonna blow everybody away. Because generally the bands on audition night weren't that good, and
Yeah.
we were incredibly well rehearsed doing Three Dog Night and Crosby, Stills and Nash and Steve Miller and all that. And we ended up playing there 6 weeks straight every night.
Wow.
And so that's what really got the band going, is Head East.
Wow.
And
And
then, of course, John and Steve left to go back to college. And so
yeah.
then I spent another 3 years with some really good bands, really, really good bands. And all those bands had a female vocalist and a male vocalist to try and keep up the vocal power we had. And then, of course, in 1973, John and Steve had graduated from school, and we got back together, and that's when we added Mike Somerville. And at that point in time, I didn't really want to do cover material. I mean, we had to continue to do some cover material,
Yeah.
but the whole focus was on putting enough material together to cut an album. That's really all I wanted to do, and I wanted to take that risk. And 74, summer 74, we start cutting flat, and as they say, the rest is history.
Was the Pyramid label your guys' label?
The Pyramid label was our label. We went ahead and put up the money. We had pressed up 5,000 albums and 508 tracks, and thought that we could be selling. You know, because back then everybody says, "Well, you can't do that. It's just not going to be successful." I said, "Okay, well, we'll see." Enough people told me it wasn't going to be successful. I knew if we could get any kind of break, it'd really take off. Bands, instead of trying to really do a product that would hold up with the product that was being cut in California and New York City, a little bit Nashville, but Nashville was totally country back then. Um, they were just making demo tapes,
Yeah.
you know, and the problem with the demo tape is you aren't as meticulous as if you're doing something that's going to be recorded that you're going to press. And so we spent the extra time and money and extra effort, and were able to put out a product that could hold its own with what was coming out of LA.
To record that first album.
I'm sorry, I lost part of your first question.
How long did it take you guys to record that Flat as a Pancake
It
album?
took us, we spent about 10 days recording, a couple days of song, and then I mixed it, I think in 5 or 6 days, about a song and a half a day. So, but
First,
we were so well prepared because my brother left the band right before we were going to record, which looked like it was going to be a disaster.
mhm.
And Mike Somerville had known Dan Burney, and I guess they'd played together a little bit. And he came in the band. So we basically rehearsed around the clock for 2 or 2.5 weeks, getting ready to go into the studio. And that was the most rehearsed of any album we ever did. And I think that that's why it went so smooth and so quick. And we'd been playing the songs in the clubs for about a year or two. So we had a pretty good feel on what the audience liked. And never again were we able to do that, you know, because then we were out on tour. So trying to work out new songs when you're opening band on a tour is almost impossible. So that's one of the things that helped make Flat as a Pancake so successful.
Were you first introduced to the instruments, the Mellotron and the Moog that are featured on that album?
The Mellotron, I can't remember. It was early 70s sometime, but the Moog I remember in 1970. I just was excited about it, and you couldn't find them anywhere. So I bought two to get the franchise. So I actually owned the franchise.
Wow.
And I went ahead and sold the other one and then turned the franchise over to the music company that, you know, we were buying the rest of our equipment for. But obviously the sound of the Moog was unique. Nobody was using it. And that's one of the things that really made Never Be Any Reason pop out, caught the ear of the radio people.
Featured first by Keith Emerson, which is more prog rock, whereas you guys could break into the pop radio more with shorter
Yeah,
songs.
you know, part of the problem with Never Been Any Reason is I tried to edit it up, but it was still a little too long for the pop people. And we got a great break with FM radio, was
Yeah.
just breaking. And boy, they really jumped on it, and people were turning to FM from AM. And so we actually thought Love Me Tonight would be our AM breakout song. But I think the lyrics were pretty suggestive, at the time, and I think that even though that was a quote unquote free love era, blah 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 blah. I think for some radio programmers in the top 40 market, that was a bit too much, and they didn't want to go there. So, I mean, Love Me Tonight still did well for us, but it didn't turn out to be as big a hit. I mean, one of the things that was interesting is one of the execs at the record company approached us. The Bay City Rollers wanted to do that song. But if we let them do it, then we weren't going to be able to keep it on our album. We weren't going to be able to keep it on Flat's Pancake. And at that point in time, we thought it would, really pop us. So we declined. Who knows? Bay City Rollers might have made a huge hit out of us and plastered our name all over the place. You never can tell.
Quickly, did you guys sell the 5,000 albums, 508 tracks of the first album?
Pretty quickly, actually, because KC Radio, which ended up being one of the biggest FM stations in the country, and KY 102 in Kansas City, both were really playing the song a lot. So we moved most of those albums out pretty. By the time we signed A&M, they were long gone. I think we came out with our version into January 1st of February, and we were signed to A&M by May. And of course, then they didn't want us to sell anymore because they were about all gone. And then A&M brought their version out, which essentially was the same album, in June. So we moved them pretty quick.
Yeah.
But when you got that kind of airplay, that's you move record. Back in those days, you moved records pretty fast.
Did A&M choose to alter the track listing on that first album when they released it?
Well, A&M wanted Never Been a Reason to be first track. So we had it the first track on side 2. They wanted the first track on side 1. Then they did a little bit of remastering on it. Of course, they changed the cover radically. As you can see in the background, there's the A&M flat, and then there's our flat as a pancake on the Pyramid Lake, which you had a couple of copies of, which, once again, that's Central Illinois, how flat Central Illinois is. And the patio butter was the basketball arena at the University of Illinois, where we're all going to school. So for the people in the area, it had a lot of meaning. We were from Champaign, they could relate to that, but A&M didn't get it. And
keyboards and become a musician.
What made me take up keyboards?
Yeah.
My mother, I guess. I had 3 brothers and a sister, and I was the oldest, and my mother had us all. She bought an old upright piano, and we all played the piano. And then we all played one other instrument in school. In the 4th grade, you joined the band. I played trumpet, and my brother Larry trombone, and then another brother played French horn, and my sister played clarinet and oboe. And so we all played the piano and that. And so originally, when I met Steve Houston, I was really a guitar player. But when we came back and reformed the band, I had my brother Larry switch to the bass, and I switched to keyboards. I just felt there was more opportunity for keyboard players. I mean, there was as there still are now, there's a gazillion million guitar players. And I like playing guitar. I was having fun playing with them, but I just thought keyboard was a better option for me.
Get your first Hammond organ.
My first Hammond. Because I played a Farfisa originally, although I wanted a Vox Continental, because that's what the Dave Clark 5 had. Not a little Miller and a Farfisa, but Farfisa had a little more cutting edge. I must have got my first Hammond 72, I think. And actually, my Hammond was Keith Emerson and I played the same kind of Hammond. We played CVs.
Yeah.
And they were basically church organs. They weren't the percussive B3 sound. And to me, the C's always had just more body. I'm a big analog guy. I like that warmer sound. And the C's just, I had a better sound.
Influences on organ. Obviously, you mentioned Keith Emerson. Was he a big influence?
Well, the guys I like John Lord, what he did in the Deep Purple
Deep
stuff. I
Purple.
always thought he was exceptionally good. I liked Wakeman in Yes,
Hmm.
obviously. Emerson. Boy, is there anybody else that I really got into? Probably those three as far as rock,
Yeah.
uh, that were in the rock genre. It's a big influence on me as any. I mean, part of the thing for me in music and some of what I did, and that shows up in some of the the lines and solos and No Big Reason and stuff, is because trumpet was just a single note instrument. And obviously the synthesizer is mono as well, or you can't play chords on it. And so probably my years, because I played trumpet all the way into college. I played in the college band and big glad band and the marching band. Probably the trumpet influenced my keyboard playing as well.
Time they didn't pick up the first album to invest.
Okay, I didn't hear any. It's part of the time when you first ask me a question, for some reason it doesn't come through right away, and then your mic
Oh.
kicks on. So that time I didn't catch any of your questions. So fire it at me again.
I was there in between when A&M picked up the first album and then you guys released the second.
How quickly was it between the two albums? Is that what
Yeah,
you asked me?
yeah,
It was way too fast. Um, Actually, Never Been a Reason was still getting added to stations when we were doing the second album, but there was a lot of pressure from the record company to get another one out right away. We actually probably should have pulled a third single off of Plaza, but I should have edited Jefftown Creek, but the record company didn't want to do that. And they wanted another record. And so we actually kind of walked on Flat as a Pancake, because the FM market was still developing and more stations were going to FM. And so the stations that were going to album oriented rock were adding it. And so that created some issues. Actually, the song that did get released off the second album that was a top 40 song was This Woman's in Love. That was really catchy, had a really good intro for the jocks to talk on, and had a great rhythm thing going out that would have let the jocks back sell it. But our management and our record company that dropped the ball on that. They wanted another Never Been a Reason. And but that was a different market than the top 40. And people were pushing us as a heavier concert rock band. And I guess they didn't want us to appear to be poppy. But A&M Records was a boutique label and they were pop. I mean, they were a top 40 label. And so that would have been a better song for them to work. They were never really heavy rockers. So that was always a detriment for us.
yeah. And you guys had success later since you've gone. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually the interesting story about Since You've Been Gone is Mark Spector came to A&M Records. Had been with CBS, and he passed on us when we were trying to get signed. CBS had East Coast and West Coast, and he was East Coast. And he came out and saw us, and he just thought we were a Midwest bar band, which I never forgot or forgave him for. And he came to A&M, and I thought, oh my goodness gracious. But actually, he and I ended up being pretty good friends and working together. And he is the one that found Since You've Been Gone for us, and also found a producer for us, found Jeffrey Lesser. So that was all decided by him, and he really did. The record company worked really hard on that single. They just didn't work quite hard. We just missed going into the top 40, and I was Hetty's. We were going to be the featured artist on Casey Kasem's American Top 40, which would have been a really big deal. I still remember the interview I did, and we just didn't quite get there, which was that was really crushing. That was a huge disappointment.
Is there a Midwest band? Why do you think you've had so much success here more than other parts of the country?
Style of music, number one. I mean, even Aerosmith that was from Boston broke out of the Midwest. I mean, the
Mhm.
Midwest part, I call it between the mountains. The Midwest is
Yeah.
where's rock. The Northeast doesn't have rock at all, and the West Coast is too weird. Um, and we were writing songs about what people in the Midwest go through. So I think a lot of people could
Mhm.
relate to the kind of songs we were writing, but definitely could relate to the drink some beers, get up on a table, dance out in the country, outside the gravel road, drinking beer and partying. I mean, that's the kind of band we were.
Yeah.
Still are for that matter. I didn't
1980,
hear that question at
you
all.
guys did your fun. You got to 1980, and then there was a big lineup change in the band. Why did that happen?
Well, that happened. I'm not 100% sure exactly. Generally, there's more than one thing that happens. Bands, and I've, had more than a few lineups to say the least. Bands have a tendency to run their course. And
Yeah.
as a general rule, bands with don't have the same lineup more than 5 or 6 years. For some reason, things either aren't going as well, or people run into alcohol or drug problems, or there's marital issue. There's any, or things aren't working out with the record company, things aren't working out with management, people get discouraged. Um, I think that for Mike Somerville, he was never a great road guy. He didn't like the road. It was hard. It was hard on him physically. It really wasn't his thing. Um, I'm not sure about Dan Burning. Um, John Slidet's well recorded in his all his stuff that he does with Petra. Drugs and alcohol become a huge problem for John. And even today, he admits that if we hadn't asked him to go get straightened out, he probably would have died. I mean, he was in rough shape. So that was kind of it. And everything had run its course with A&M. I mean, all of the rock people had just gotten fired, and the handful that were there. So we were really in no bands. So there was no rock bands left on the label but us. So it's just a down the band just, but you could kind of feel we were really peaking about 78 or 79. So it was kind of weird. But
Yeah.
all of a sudden it was kind of like a balloon gets popped. I think since you've been gone, not getting all the way into the top 40, and then the double live album, which we thought was going to be really big. A&M changed distribution right in the middle when the record was out and just killed it. We couldn't get any records in the store for 3 or 4 weeks. Just killed the record. It was bulleting up the charts. We felt we had a good chance of falling in the footsteps of Bob Seger and Pete Frampton. It was on A&M and stuff. Really, that was kind of the live album era, and we still think it's one of the, and a lot of people still think it's one of the better live albums ever done.
You seemed kind of disillusioned by 1980, by that time.
Oh, I was terribly disappointed. Absolutely. I mean, it's a tough business, and not only do you really have to do good music and good writing, good recording, and this and that and the other, but there's a lot of other people. Like when we did Flat as a Pancake, there was just the band. And so
Yeah.
we did what felt good and what felt right, and you get the best music that way. But later on, you got these people want this, and those people want that, or record company want this, and they want that changed. Just like with the Getting Lucky album, they wouldn't let us call it Trifecta because nobody in the West Coast knew what a trifecta was. And I go, well, we're not big on the West Coast right now, and everybody else knows what it is. Third album, we thought it was a great idea, but then Steve wrote Getting Lucky. Um, but we had some management issues. Our management had moved on to they'd become really, really big promoters and they couldn't manage it, so we weren't getting any support out of them. And our record company support had kind of disappeared. So there was a combination of things that all kind of came together at the same time. And so, we did some records, couple albums for independent labels, but as quickly as they ran out of money, why? I mean, the record industry is it's a money business. The record companies have to spend money to promote your records. Those little independent labels, it's not like today where things go viral. Back then, it was a little different business. Once they ran out of promotion money, well, generally that was pretty much it. So.
What do you think has kept Head East going all this time?
I don't know whether it's I'm obstinate or love it so much, love our music so much, or because the '80s, from about '82 to '83 to the mid '90s, things were really, really tough for bands from the '70s. There was no market for us. We were all dinosaurs and old and this and that and the other, and blah 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 blah. And then we became classic, and of course that gave us a whole new breath of fresh air and another life. But I don't know. I always loved the business. I mean, it's been incredible, for me. I mean, I did go on and get my PhD, which was my original dream. I'd never planned on being a big time rock guy. That kind of happened. That kind of door opened, and I said, "Oh wait, I really like this." Um, but I loved it, and I thought that I could find that right combination again, that kind of sound that we had before. And obviously in 2003, when I put this particular lineup together, I did. So I'm glad I stuck with it.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say
Yeah.
exactly what kept me going.
You show in Missouri with your original singer, John, in October. Can you tell us about
I'm
that?
sorry, what about John in October?
You guys are doing that show in Missouri. Can you tell us about
Yes, at
that?
Wildwood Springs Lodge. It's right outside of Steelville, Missouri. Really intimate place, really eclectic place. Great place to see a band. Very unusual. And that's where we're gonna release the book on the band, the Eddie's book. And so we're gonna have John come back, and that's the one place that you can catch me and John together.
Yeah.
So, and we'll do, we'll do a two split show, and we'll do all of Flats of Pancake with John singing with us, and then the other show with the other guys and all the other stuff we're doing.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun.
Playing shows still today?
You what?
Do you enjoy playing the shows with the band today?
Yes, very much. In fact, these guys, which is why we've been together for 18 years. If I didn't have these guys, I probably would be retired. I just about retired right before I found them. But they're just fantastic guys, and they still make it fun. And they're great to travel with, great to play with. Wonderful people, not only wonderful musicians, but wonderful people. And of course, if I retire, then it might make it tough for them to keep going as Head East. So they want to make sure I don't retire.
Sure. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate it. It's great talking to you, Brennan, and I look forward to catching some of those songs that you're writing. You have
Yeah.
to send me some as you get them whipped into shape. But it was great seeing you at the show, and hopefully keep in touch. Maybe if you can get a chance to come down to Steelville when John's with the band too, that might be if you can make that kind of trip or something. I'm trying to think if we're going to be close again up there to up to your area in Omaha. Well, I guess you're all the way from Kearney, aren't you? Or you're ways out from Omaha.
Lincoln.
Oh, that's right. You're in Lincoln. Okay, well, that's not too far away. We are playing at Blue Springs, which is just south of Kansas City.
City. Yeah.
I think, but you got our schedule, so hopefully we'll see you again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a ton, bud.
Yeah.